Now I'm going to introduce our next speaker. She was the third engineer. She had come from a hedge fund. She had come from Pixar, where she was designing amazing water in Moana. And she got bored at Tesla and instead decided that she wanted to create a new form of currency. Please welcome out our CTO, Sara Drakeley.
Let me go your way.
No, Mike. All right, I'll try from here for now. Hello. So 3 years ago, I was at a wedding with Josh, and he asked me if I had heard of secure enclaves and encrypted RAM. And I was like, what are you up to? And 3 years later, we have MobileCoin at this stage today. So in the film The Five Obstructions, Lars von Trier challenges Jürgen Leth to remake his short film, The Perfect Human. The Perfect Human had been hailed as the perfect short film. And so Lars von Trier offers increasingly absurd obstructions, and Leth produces increasingly creative and beautiful solutions. Why am I talking about film? Because if we translate this idea to science and technology, we can say that constraints drive innovation. We're going to talk today about glass, coffee, fog, and clocks, and how every constraint that we face today rhymes with something that happened 1,000 years ago. And through that lens, we're going to talk about what MobileCoin is today and what we'll be launching at this conference. Who here has been to the Isola di Murano in Italy? All right, okay. Did you notice all of the glass there? Let's talk about that. So if we look at a geopolitical context of the history of glass, we can examine how increasing constraints drove innovation. In 1204, Byzantium fell, and this caused a migration of glassmakers from modern-day Turkey to Italy. Once in Venice, they kept lighting the city on fire while innovating on glass. And so the city said, okay, we're going to send you to the Isola di Murano, and that's where you can make as much glass as you want there. And so while in this constrained space, the innovation accelerated. And within 100, 200 years, we have the invention of Cristallo by Angelo Barovier, which is the beautiful clear glass that we are familiar with today. And this glass led to innovations across multiple industries. One, now we have literacy, we have lenses, and so while the printing press has developed, also more people have access to this because they can read who couldn't have before. We have science. The microscope is invented with 2 lenses, and you can see very small things. And then we have astronomy and navigation because the telescope is invented, and now we can see very far. And all of this from increasing levels of constraints. What I want to talk about are the 6 key design constraints and philosophies of what we've trying to achieve at MobileCoin, and how they've all added up to the product that we're launching today. The first constraint is custody. We need to rethink what it means to hold money. With cash, you hold money in your hand, but once we start to think about credit cards, banks, digital payments, and blockchain, it gets a little fuzzy. Where are the funds really? Who's custodying your funds at any point in a transaction? We can put them back in your hands, custodied on your phone. The next constraint is scale. We're looking at global value transfer. We're considering the ways in which payments should be accessible from one side of the planet to the other instantly, and decentralization is a necessary evolution in the scale of global payments. Next, we're looking at time scale. Xander, thank you for bringing us the 10,000-year view, because we're building technology not just for the next few years, but beyond our lifetimes, beyond the next millennia. The next constraint is finality. I'd like to tell a story to illustrate why finality is a requirement for payment systems. If you think about buying coffee, which is the use case that motivates MobileCoin, we think about it from the user's perspective. It's great if that transaction is final for the user before the coffee is cold. That's great. But what we don't often think about is the merchant's experience. So from the merchant's experience, there are if in this city, in your city, if you traveled here, there are probably coffee shops that only accept cash. Is that right? And why is that in the age of digital technology? Isn't it so much more convenient to accept any form of digital payment? And the reason is that these coffee shops exist on the margins. They really need that transaction to be final, and they need for middlemen not to be taking off pennies of every transaction. And so what we can deliver to these merchants and for what they need is final transactions with no chargebacks. In traditional finance, it can be 30 days before that transaction is truly final, and you could otherwise rip out that coffee transaction from that merchant's hand. The next constraint is encryption. If you were to buy your coffee with a non-encrypted blockchain, the barista knows about every purchase you've ever participated in, and the person behind you knows about every purchase you've ever participated in. And they can even triangulate, maybe probably figure out where you live, who your family members are. That's not only creepy, that's dangerous and irresponsible. Blockchain will not support payments in any real capacity unless it is end-to-end encrypted. And finally, hopefully, just as the governor didn't want to burn down the city of Venice, we don't want to burn the rainforest for a cup of coffee. All right. Now, I'm going to take that geopolitical context, looking at the increasing constraints, and thinking about the rhyme that Josh mentioned earlier, the rhyme of history. So how have these same constraints played out in the past? In the 12th century, pilgrims carried their life savings on their back, and so the Knights of Templar invented custody so that you could, along your journey, withdraw and deposit your money and not have to carry it on your back. We're innovating on custody, and I'm going to talk a little bit about fog today. So MobileCoin, so blockchain processing on your phone, on your mobile device, is prohibitive today. So we've developed a technology that post-processes the ledger and offers remote, oblivious access to payments by offloading the processing to a service through encrypted metadata on the chain. I know that was a lot of technical words, so let me explain why this is important. Without fog, you would have to make a trade-off for convenience and security. With fog, you don't have to compromise. Your data is your data, and you get the convenience of digital payments without the service operators seeing the data that they don't need to. We believe that the user should always be in control of their data. The scale constraint. All right, in the High Middle Ages, we had a boom in population, and this was because of developments in agriculture. But then we had the Black Death, and the population dropped 30 to 60%. But then it rebounded quite quickly, and this was at the height of the Renaissance that we saw that rebound. This introduced a lot of scale constraints on the systems that had been going through ups and downs. For MobileCoin, the constraint we've given ourselves is we're designing for 10 billion users, and we want every single user to experience a transaction in 5 seconds or less. To support the world population on mobile for instant payments, we're using federated Byzantine agreement for our consensus algorithm. It's not proof of work or proof of stake. It only does work when there's work to do, and it's based off of trust graphs. And then we're also using fog. I'll mention fog a few times. We're pretty proud of fog. All right, let's talk about the timescale constraint. In 1641, Galileo's pendulum clock solved navigation for the global shipping industry, because calculating longitude requires time accuracy, and the pendulum clock delivered time accuracy within fractions of a second. So with lateral thinking around time, the ability to move through space was revolutionized. We need lateral thinking around time and data storage, because blockchain is an infinite append-only ledger. We need to think about data beyond our lifetimes. So we've innovated in our ledger by making the transactions more compact and eliminating unnecessary data from the blockchain. This has the side effect of also making the data more secure because it resists certain statistical analysis attacks. The transaction finality constraint. From 1400 to 1600 is currently being analyzed as the age of proto-consumerism. And what was contributing to this was increased overlapping of boundaries and dissolving of boundaries. So you might be in one place and have a religious body that's governing you and a governmental body that's governing you, but then you're also able to move around a lot more freely. And so a new financial instrument had to be invented. And this was called the lettera di cambio. And this was something you could take to a bank and exchange for different currencies. Because MobileCoin transactions have speed, finality, and no chargebacks, you have that instant ownership. And with those no chargebacks, we have that high trust with the convenience of the digital payments. And so we've also developed a way to provide verifiable receipts. So the sender can provide some data that only they could have known at this creation of that payment and cryptographically prove their participation in the payment. Encrypted messaging. In 1440, we had the printing press. So we heard from both Xander and Josh about the development of information transfer and cryptography and how those go hand in hand. So the printing press brought us a low-cost, durable information transfer. And then in 1467, 27 years later, we get the polyalphabetic cipher from Leon Battista Alberti, who is called the father of Western cryptology. MobileCoin Fog allows scalable access to persistent encrypted metadata without the service operator learning anything. And so you have that durable information transfer, which is now a new constraint, an innovation that brings us a constraint. And in that remote context, it necessitates protecting the user's data from the operators of the service. And last, the energy constraint. So in the 16th century, Britain ran out of wood. And this was horrible. But then they found coal, and they had to resort to coal. What that turned out to be was a really compact source of a lot of energy. And this revolutionized everything and brought about the Industrial Revolution. So we're looking for a similar paradigm shift and similarly trying to find a new source of energy so that we don't have to keep running out of our current energy sources. So MobileCoin's Federated Byzantine Agreement is a paradigm shift in resource requirements for decentralization. And if we look at the energy usage of blockchain, particularly this is Bitcoin. So the red is the cumulative growth in terawatt hours of energy usage. And that blue line on the bottom, you might think that's MobileCoin, but no, that's actually still Bitcoin. That's the day-over-day usage. And so you can see that it is actually increasing over time. If I were to plot MobileCoin on this plot, it would be the x-axis, because MobileCoin's usage is 1 million times less than Bitcoin's, even at max capacity. Yes. And so plotting it on a graph is one thing, but we can also take an analogy where Bitcoin right now is using as much energy as a country, as the country of Argentina. And we're using as much energy as a house. And at max capacity, we would be as much energy as a small neighborhood. All right. So we went through the 6 design constraints that drove MobileCoin to where we are today. If we look to the future, what are we thinking about that's going to constrain us and drive us to innovate? We're thinking about smart contracts. We understand the value of this primitive, and we need to figure out how it fits in with our ethos and the things that matter about MobileCoin. We're looking at encrypted stability. How do we offer our users a shield from volatility? How do we deliver hardware wallets and continue to evolve the story of custody? And last, how do we produce automated incentives that continue to motivate people to operate in the network in a way that benefits everybody? We'd love for you to try out our MobileCoin app. If you're a volunteer from MobileCoin today and you are here to help people install their apps and send MobileCoin, raise your hand. Look around. Yes. All right. Find anyone who is from MobileCoin or anyone who has installed the app already, and please feel free to send MobileCoin back and forth to each other. We've also got a store. You can go to the store on your phone and purchase things, and we've also got some merch for sale out here. I'm going to go through, while you're installing your app now, I'm going to go through a demo of what the app looks like. And it seems like my microphone is fixed, so I'll wander a little bit more. All right, so here's our wallet. This is the opening screen. You can agree to the terms of use. So this is the create wallet flow. And once you've agreed to those terms of use, you're going to see your mnemonic phrase. That mnemonic phrase is 24 words that helps to, those are your private keys. So you need to protect those very, very securely. And once you have understood what those 24 words are, now you're going to make sure you back them up and move forward. You're going to set up your PIN. And so this is an extra security measure on your wallet. And there we go. So now we're going to send money to our friends. So I'm on the left, my friend's on the right. And I want to send to them. They're going to show me their QR code. And I'm going to say, all right, optionally, I'm going to back up this person. So I just made this new friend named Test Account. And I'm going to save them for later. And now let's see, how much do I want to send them? So there's my balance on top of the keypad. It's in USD and MOB, and it's fetching the value of USD live from the market. And I can choose whether I want to send in USD or in MOB. I can toggle back and forth and set my value, change my mind, send in MOB, set a different value. And then once I'm ready to review, review, and then slide to send. It's that easy. And now my friend is going to refresh their balance. They're going to see that transaction arrive. That came through Fog. And then I'm going to see my transaction history update now with that sent transaction. If I want to send to someone not through their QR code, I can enter their address through this screen. So enter in their address, and then we're going to follow the same flow, set the amount. And during this process, Fog is fetching the current UTXOs that we have, or the client's fetching from Fog, constructing a transaction, and sending it. So now let's go through export and recover. If I want to export, you can take or here we go. We're going to export now. So we're going to go to our settings. And the reason why you would want to export is you're either transferring to a new phone, or maybe you just are done with the app and you want to store your phrase and use a different wallet. So you can, we'll prompt you again with your 24 words. Make sure you wrote those down, and we confirm that you wrote those down because we make you enter them to delete your wallet. So enter them. Now you can delete your wallet. And then now we're going to do the import flow. And we've been receiving your feedback. And so we have already improved. This is the beta version. Please keep participating and giving us feedback. We've changed it to, instead of import, recover. So now you can recover, input all of your words. And then that's going to get you back to the home screen. And you'll see that your balance will update after you set your PIN, following the best practices of keeping your money safe. And there you go. And your funds show up, and you've got your transaction history there. All right. So please try it out. Yes. Definitely try it out. Let us know how it goes. We're eager to make the best experience, so we want all the feedback. We're inviting you to use this app today. We have 3 experiences. Taika Coffee is here, and you can get your adaptogenic cold brew and your award-winning matcha. We have artists. Please check out all of the art. And the artists are here and receiving MobileCoin. And so you can scan their QR code and send them money instantly that they will receive in less than 5 seconds. And last, we have a number of art projects that you can participate in to win some MOB. And all of this is accessible through that MobileCoin app that only you all have here today. Thank you so much.